Welcome to Light It Up, a podcast about resilient women balancing motherhood, their careers, personal lives, and all of the challenges that come along with being a superwoman. Each week, you'll be motivated to take action to lead, inspire, transform, and empower. Now, here's your host, Dr. Aginah. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Light It Up. I am your host, Dr. Aginah. I'm excited about this episode because I have someone who actually joined us in season 1. She was my very first guest on Light It Up podcast, and then the pandemic hit and we shut down in our traditional manner of interviewing guests. But I have Kashanna Eiland, who is an entrepreneur. She is the CEO and founder of Unboxed Teas and a de-escape. So we're going to talk to Kashanna because she's got to bring us up to date on what she's been doing over the last year. Welcome to Light It Up, Kashanna.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me back.
No problem. You're actually, every time I have a guest, I ask them if they will come back, and you're actually the first person that I've had back on the show, but it's just because I've interviewed so many people that I haven't had an opportunity to circle back. But I wanted to do so with you because last year when we talked about your work as a social impact strategist, and we talked about some of your work in the nonprofit sector because you did launch your own nonprofit organization, which you had for several years, many years actually. But now you are doing something just a little bit different. And I wanted to kind of get a little bit of insight on how you transitioned into opening your own company and what you've been doing. So why don't you take a few minutes just to refresh the audience memory of who you are?
Absolutely. So I would say, actually, I took a big turn from where I was the last time we spoke. I initially, when we met last year, had been, as you say, the founder and executive director of a nonprofit organization for over a decade. I was transitioning into offering consulting for other nonprofits, so startups, organizations looking to scale up, and I'm still doing that work. So I'm proud to say I don't think I'll ever fully leave the nonprofit sector. I think my intention has been to have an even greater impact by working with other nonprofits and what their endeavors are, what their missions are. So as I've moved away from running my organization, I'm definitely looking to have more of an impact by working with others. I always wanted to eventually get into the for-profit sector.
Mhm.
So many moons ago, in a past life, I was a realtor. So I think that was my first official foot into entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
But now, and I definitely would accredit it to the pandemic
Mhm.
and just kind of being like a perfect storm that actually gave me that big nudge to actually move forward in this way. So now I own and operate what began as an apparel company. So initially, I was, seeing a lot of the heightened social justice campaigns.
Mhm.
George Floyd, was huge in 2020, where people were kind of rallying, and it worldwide became a big topic of discussion. And I was seeing a lot of companies who were, I felt, kind of creating propaganda in the name of social justice, but it didn't really seem as though their intentions were pure. And
Mhm.
that's what kind of initially sparked my interest in creating t-shirts that had a story to tell, or that had some meaning behind them. And from that started toward the beginning of last year. And then as I kind of dug deeper into my own passions, including learning how to sew and just kind of getting better and better with that. And then exploring my own love for fine dining accoutrements, and just decor in general. One of the subsidiaries, or the first subsidiary, I should say, of my apparel company is actually a table decor and table linens brand, which is a Escape.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like a soft intro into what I'm doing now.
Okay. So you mentioned that with the pandemic, you were kind of forced into taking a detour. Um, what would you say during that time of launching your company? What was the greatest challenge that you experienced during that time with making a transition, and how did you overcome that challenge?
I would say the greatest challenge was dealing with uncertainty, right? So I think no matter what your economic status was when everything shut down, or what your family structure was, or anything, your employment status, it has been a period of mass uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big challenge for me, having to reset, having to just, first of all, become comfortable with life as it was. Like, the kids are home now, and we don't know if or when they're going back to school. And how do I continue to be a strong parent for them, but then also a strong person for myself as the head of the household? And then thinking long term, just the type of person that I am, how do I, because I've always been a mission driven person.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that I do has to tie into a bigger picture. And so I had to deal with the challenge of, how do I satisfy my own desire to be in accordance with a mission,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that mission is, and still pay the bills, and still, operate the household, and still be a parent. So how I overcame that, honestly, the beginning of the pandemic, I kind of shut down with the rest of the world. Like, I'd spent a lot of time resting. I spent a lot of time doing passion projects around my house. Um, I really was intentional about doing things that I wanted to do without being very concerned about anything else, because I couldn't control anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So for the first time, I had to kind of sit down and accept that I'm not in control, or not in full control.
Right. And I think for sometimes that can be a little challenging for those of us who must have control over everything.
Yep.
Um, I'm glad you were able to find a way, to learn how to relinquish the control just a little bit. But also, I think what I saw in watching you is, you mentioned working on some of your passion projects. So
Mm-hmm.
you took it a little bit further than I did, because I'm not the handy person in the family. And I know always had your own garden, I think, even before the pandemic, but I think
Mm-hmm.
you built like a raised garden um in your backyard. And then there were
Mm-hmm.
some other things that you did. So whereas your cousin here, in full transparency, we are cousins, I would much rather pay somebody to do it, because I feel like that's just not my cup of tea. I'm not skilled in that area. How did you learn how to do some of the things that you do? I mean, because I even watched, you've built cabinets, you've built bookcases, which are really nice.
Thank
All
you.
of this, like, how did you learn? Where did you get that talent from?
So honestly, when I was running a nonprofit, we had gardening programs, and we would teach our youth how to build garden beds. So that's really, I don't, I've always liked building things, and to a degree, and make, like, putting things together.
Mhm.
I always remember being that type of person, but as far as having the technical skills to do it, that originated in my role as an executive director, being in the trenches, working alongside our youth and learning how to use hand tools first and then power tools. And then YouTube University came around. And honestly, a lot of things that I've done, I might have an idea and I have the wherewithal to draw things out and kind of figure things out mathematically. But then as far as making sure that I'm doing things technically correct, I'll refer to YouTube a lot.
Okay.
And then, you just get better and better at things. I also think that I can, like, I have that crazy idea. I'll come up with a crazy idea and then I never think, I probably can't do this. I'm always thinking, okay, I'm going to do this. Let me just figure out how.
That
So that's
that
the secret sauce.
that's a good trait to have because, and I think I used to be that way. I remember when I first moved into my house, I laid my own tile. There were things that I would do, but then somewhere down the road, either I got spoiled because I had somebody else to do that, and then I just,
Mm-hmm.
lost an interest, or no longer had the desire. But I could tell somebody all day long what I want. I just don't want to do it myself. um
Yeah.
let's fast forward here. You decided to launch the t-shirt company to provide positive messages, especially in light of everything that has transpired that transpired during 2020. Who's your target clientele for your unboxed tees?
It's not even really like minimized. I would say adults. So, um, the apparel is for anyone, but definitely the intention is to provide positive messaging geared towards Black culture.
Mhm.
So, a lot of our shirts are dealing with things that are tied in with Black culture. I do also provide custom shirts.
Mhm.
So definitely anyone could patronize the business. Definitely allies, right? So-called allies are welcome and have definitely been supportive of the company. And actually, I have a shirt. Can I pull out my shirt?
Yeah.
Shameless plug.
Yeah.
This shirt was created for Black History Month.
Okay.
And this was actually created with allies in mind. I
Mhm.
I collaborated with one of my friends from elementary school who is a Caucasian woman, and kind of ran some ideas by her, like, would you wear this shirt and how would you
Mhm.
feel? And do you think friends will wear it? And she was like, yeah, and I'll actually wear it and promote it across my social media. So um, but definitely, I think that my shirts are geared more towards adults of all ages.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to crack the code. I do have a teenager and a preteen in the household. I'm still trying to marry my vision with what's I
Cool.
don't even know what's the cool word right now. I
Right.
still say dope, but whatever the Generation Z equivalent is to dope, that's what I'm still trying to find
Yeah, I
that.
don't know what it is either. But and you, I mean, everything that I've seen is very nice. Um, I really like them. We have to work on some special designs for
Yes.
me. So we're going to have to, but I know you've been very busy with everything, with promoting your business and just with the clientele that you have and making sure that you get those orders out. So don't,
Hmm.
don't forget about the little people. So where do you see, what goals have you set for the business going forward for this year? I know you've also, like you mentioned, you've transitioned, well, not transitioned, but you also have a de-escape, because you
Yes.
definitely have this passion for the dinner parties and making sure that everything is situated nicely. Um, and that's what you're also known for. Whenever we've gotten together and you've hosted, like,
Hmm.
whether it's Easter brunch or some type of dinner or get together, you always have the nicest decor. So what made you
Thank you.
decide to make this available for other people? Is it simply because, of your desire to, with the dinner parties and just making sure that everything is aesthetically nice and pleasing? Let's talk about that a little bit more and how that also ties into what you're doing with the positive messaging with the unboxed teas.
Absolutely. So I would definitely say my love for hosting and my critical eye as it relates to um, fine dining definitely has been a big influence for me creating the De-Escape line. How it ties in with the Black messaging is that I started out patronizing and selecting fabrics from African fabric stores.
Mm-hmm.
So the fabrics are all from West Africa for the most part, Ghana, the Ivory Coast, Nigeria, and my tablescape has been two-sided. So for instance, I have table runners and one side is an Ankara fabric. The other side is some other more luxe fabric, such as satin or velvet or something of that linen, something of that nature, which complements but offers just different opportunities for dining experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as I'm moving to do more custom tablescape and kind of branching out and doing spring and looking forward to the summer, I've started using different fabrics, but my signature line is all Ankara with another luxe fabric.
Okay.
Um, I think also just kind of tying back into my love for hosting,
Mm-hmm.
we know 2020 shut everything down.
Right.
So I wasn't able to host. I think the last thing I hosted indoors was a dinner party in February.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was like the last, like right before the NBA shut down. It was like I squeezed that last little dinner party in. And then I host Easter every year. So I wasn't Easter and that sucked.
Mm-hmm.
But this has been an outlet for me. It's something I love. If you come to my house any time of the year, my dining table is set up as if I'm having a dinner party that evening. So it was like, I'm already doing this. Let me kind of dig a little deeper. Let me see what other people might be interested in beyond just when they come to my house. So that's kind of how a De-Escape was born. And the name, although you didn't ask, but
I was getting to
yes,
that, but I thought
Adia is
that
my
his middle name.
yes, my middle name.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it came to be, but I just really feel like Adia, out of all the things that I've done, Adia Escape is probably like my baby. Everything is my baby when I'm doing it, but it's my baby because of that tie in to my name and the tie in. It's my favorite. The logo is my favorite color, and I'm doing one of my favorite things. So it's really taken off, and um, the partnerships that I've been able to form just in the last few months to help promote a De-Escape and help me to promote other people have been extraordinary. So as you talk about like my goals for the
Mhm.
rest of the year moving forward, of course, I would like to continue and plan to continue providing custom bespoke tablescapes. So
Mhm.
um, table runners, tablecloths, placemats, things of that nature. I would like to down the line get into more accessories like napkin rings and just different accessories. I would love to appear in some of the bigger name stores. Right now, I've been partnering with Sweet Foods on the west side of Chicago.
Okay.
It is a cheesecake. Actually, let me back up. It is the best cheesecake in Chicago. And I previously didn't even care for cheesecake. And
Mhm.
now every single time I go, pretty much I'm buying cheesecake. Um, but one thing that we're working on together is to start offering tea
Mhm.
a few times a month so people can come out with a group, a small group, of course,
Mhm.
and they can host a tea party. And they will leave with a De-Escape to take home. Of course, they'll try different teas and just have an overall good experience. they'll be able to sample various cheesecakes that are offered there. So that's something I'm definitely looking forward to. Also looking forward to hosting some preferred private chef events over the course of this year, where of course you'll see the Adiascape,
Hmm.
but they'll be able to partake in some fine dining from some of Chicago's best chefs.
Okay. Now, how do you balance, because you are a mom, you mentioned that you have a teen and a preteen. So
Mhm.
how do you balance being a business owner, being a mother? Do you involve your children at all in the business?
Yes. um, so just to kind of go back to even before Unboxed and Adiascape, as you know, like I said, I was a realtor when my son was born. I was a realtor, so my children have literally always been integrated into my businesses. When my son was a baby, I would take him with me to my real estate office,
Mhm.
go show houses together. If I didn't bring him, my clients were like, "Where's the baby?" And I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, sometimes you think this is not probably the best setting for a baby. I can leave him at home today." No, they were not having it. So um that's kind of like the start of my motherhood entrepreneurship balance. And then with the nonprofit, I always say my daughter was the EEE baby
Mhm.
because I was pregnant with her when I founded the organization.
Mhm.
So she's literally her entire life up until a couple years ago was part of the organization. And
Mhm.
we served primarily teenagers, so she's like, "Are we going to see the teens today?"
Mhm.
They were like her big brothers and sisters and babysitters or what have you during the program. So I think my primary method of balance is integration.
Okay.
Um, I love entrepreneurship because it enables me to pursue my passions, but it also enables me to be a very hands-on mom. Like I've been to every field trip I've wanted to go to. I've been, when we were doing college tours with the nonprofit, I took my children. So they started at an early age visiting college campuses and interacting with people on a different scale that many children don't experience until they're in high school.
Mhm.
Um, my daughter, for instance, is just she's very much like me in that she enjoys like nature and she enjoys building things, and she's a maker like I don't even say I'm a builder. I say I'm a maker because I just like making things
Mhm.
and seeing nothing turn into something. So many times, like when I'm out in the backyard building something, she'll come out there, "Do you need help?" And she'll
Mhm.
help me in the garden. Or sometimes if I haven't gotten up yet, and she'll go out and water the garden. So when I started this apparel company, she helped me with that. She was helping me with um, just everything. Honestly,
Mhm.
she's like my pseudo employee at this
Mhm.
point,
Mhm. Well, that's good.
and mostly paid. She's not a volunteer, ladies and gentlemen.
You talked about how your youngest is very involved. How about your son? Is he involved? I know sometimes, our teens, when they get a certain age, sometimes they're a little too cool to help us out in the way that we like them to. How has he been involved in the businesses?
He has been involved, not as much voluntarily as my daughter, but definitely anything I've asked him to do, he does it, not even begrudgingly. He does
Mhm.
it and gets it done. He's not excited, but he's not stomping around about it. And I appreciate that also. He's more so with the heavy lifting, or if I really more with the grunt work. If I need help when I'm building things and I need him to hold something in place or something.
Okay. So I love the way you have created it into really a family affair. And then also
Hmm.
something that with a de-escape that I've watched you take on. So I did mention that we are cousins, and my grandmother, your great grandmother, was a seamstress. So just seeing you, I don't know how you didn't pick up sewing, but just seeing
I'll tell
you.
you how. So I grew up watching you sew at that. tender age of probably
Really?
10 or
Yeah.
11. Like, you guys started really early,
I was 10.
and you have sewn things for us like forever. And I always wanted to sew, and I always thought it was too hard. So believe it or not, as much as I think that I can do anything, like, that was one thing I just thought it's so hard. My mother taught my children to sew years ago, and I just thought, wow, that's my children are smart. They know how to sew,
Mm,
and I never even asked because I just thought it was too hard. That's how.
really?
Mhm.
Oh, wow. That, uh, being able to, I think, like, I would go to the fabric store and just, if I wanted something to wear to school later that week, I would go in and pick out fabric, and I just envisioned in my mind what I was going to make. And then I had an outfit in a couple of hours. I really liked, like you talk about, um, making something out of nothing. That's Now
Mhm.
that's where my creativity is as far as sewing is concerned. I actually wish I had time, or I would could make the time to go back to sewing like I used to. Um, because I came across a picture where I made all three of my children an outfit for a Black History program that they were in. And I was like, oh, they're so cute. And just knowing that nobody has anything else like you, or you get to put your own little
Mhm.
creativity, um, you know, into the finished product. So I'm glad that you picked up that as a skill, because it's definitely a skill that I think all of us should have.
Our family, like, pretty much all the women sew, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm probably the last one.
Oh, wow. Well, you've got your sewing machine. You are creative. You're making things now. So goes to show it's never too late um,
Mhm.
to get into that. Um, so I want to know, what advice can you give to moms who may be interested in taking their passion and developing a business, and just trying to balance motherhood and the business. You talked about how you've always integrated your children into your work. um, but for
Mhm.
someone who's not accustomed to that, especially if they're transitioning from working for someone else and then trying to launch their own business, you have any advice on how they should, initiate the process, or just, going into business in general? Because obviously you can't just wake up and say, hey, I want to start a business. There's got to be some type of,
Mhm.
process to that. So what advice can you give us?
So of course everybody's situation is different. I would say to commit to whichever idea you have, whatever type of business you want to start. I think that we're at a time right now where entrepreneurs are galore. Like, everywhere you look, people are taking that step and taking that chance to start a business. So I think that, no, you're not going to necessarily go out and quit your job tomorrow and just say, hey, I'm starting a business. But I do think what has worked for me has been to start, when I've started businesses, to do so when I'm still employed full time. So
Hmm.
I've had a base salary to fall back on, or to kind of support myself and my family. And then I'm able to um, focus as much as possible on the business without having to worry, how am I going to sustain myself?
Hmm.
So, like I said, people's situations are different. Some people have a partner whom they can just focus solely on their business because the partner might be able to provide financial support. Um, I guess another thing that's worth stating is that we need more than just financial support. I've always said, probably said in the previous interview, and you can probably relate also, there's no way I would have been able to do any business as a mother without having support from my children. So
Hmm.
as much as I bring my kids, or have brought my children with me to work, or been able to work from home and be there for them, there's no way I would have been able to accomplish what I've accomplished without having support, whether it be their dad, whether it be my mom, my best friend, like all these people who make up the village have made it possible. So I would definitely say, make sure if you are a mother, and it's no different. I mean, it is different from working full time, but it in many ways is similar, but when you're an entrepreneur, you're not working 9 to 5.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, your day, you don't have holidays off.
Mm-hmm.
You might take a day off here and there, but your business is a 7 day a week, 24 hours in some cases, like, where something can be happening in your business, or there's an opportunity in your business. I know for me, I'm up in the 4 o'clock hour and
Mm-hmm.
I'm working, whether it's posting to social media, whether it's sewing before they're up and after they go to sleep. So that's one thing.
If there was anything that you, is there anything that you would have done differently in terms of your journey to with entrepreneurship?
Yes, I have had a challenge with seeking out money, which sounds backwards.
Mm.
I've let my passion take the lead. So, there's a lot of grant money out there right now because of COVID, or even in the nonprofit world. I had to get over that whole stigma of asking for money. Well, you're a nonprofit. Like, what, how do you think you're going to sustain the organization if you're not asking for money? So I got over that real quick. But even now, I would definitely change that whole thought process of not wanting to seek out outside funding,
Mm-hmm.
or, being reluctant to
Mm-hmm.
seek outside funding. And I probably would do a better job of just educating myself on more funding opportunities and bigger funding opportunities.
And that's, I mean, with when you're a small business, obviously, that's one of the greatest challenges of either having the seed money to start up a business, and then, of course, the sustainability. Here, something that just crossed my mind is always interesting to me because I have a very good friend who has, well, he's like a brother to me, Mandine, who has Legacy Men's
Mm-hmm.
Boutique. And we often
Mm-hmm.
talk about, or he will post some things on social media about how people will ask someone who has a small business, for a discount, or is that the price? But when you go into the big box stores, like your, I don't know, Macy's or what have you, you're
Mm-hmm.
not asking for a discount. You're going to pay whatever the price is, unless, of course,
Mm-hmm.
there's a coupon. Um, and I don't know why people, do that. Obviously, as a small business, you're trying to sustain your business as well. You can't give your talents and everything away for free. Have you
Mm-hmm.
experienced that as a business owner? I don't know. Have you faced that where people have been quick to ask for a discount by chance? Or do you find
This
that
might
people are pretty
surprise you.
supportive?
It's been the latter, and it shocked me, honestly, because one of the biggest things that we say, Black people don't support Black business. We
Mhm.
hear that a lot.
Yes.
And then we hear people are always asking their friends and family for discounts.
Mhm.
I have part of my strategy has been offering sales, like flash sales on various items when I'm rolling them out and things. I had a big sale, I think last month. It
Mhm.
was a friends and family discount that I gave out to people who were either in my small circle, who I figured maybe they would support if they had
Mhm.
incentive, or people who have been supporting me from the beginning. It was kind of like a thank you to them. Do
Mhm.
you know that I would say over 50% of the people did not even apply the discount?
Mhm.
And that's no shade at all to people who did, because I do, like, I sincerely appreciate anyone who decides to support my company. But I've been really genuinely surprised that people who've outright refused a
Mhm.
discount on multiple occasions, people who have tipped me. I'm like, how you gonna tip?
Mm,
Who've tipped me, who've offered more because I've delivered. Now, I should say also, customer service is like the at the top of
right.
my list of priorities as it relates to my company. Before I started, I said I want my service to be unmatched. I don't want people to come and say, "Oh, I can tell that's a small business." I want them to, and that's how I've always been. Even with the nonprofit, even with real estate, I've always wanted someone to, um, when comparing me to a larger, more established business, to say I can't tell the difference as it relates to customer service. This company operates as if they have a full staff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that some of that is a testament to the customer service that people receive, because they're like, oh, I know I'm getting a good quality product. I know I'm being treated right. I'm going beyond. And then also, I will say, I've had people who have supported me without even being asked. So it's one thing when you're asking people, can you buy my product? Can you help? Can you spread the word? And it's another thing when people are just like, I'm going to spread the word.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I didn't even know I was on their radar.
Mm-hmm.
And what that has done for me is this made me pay it forward. So I'm finding myself checking myself when I start thinking, man, I want a discount, right? Or when I'm thinking like, let me intentionally support this business. I'm just paying it forward,
Right.
and yes, I want to pay the full price, because I had another entrepreneur who we purchased things from each other over the course of the last year or two. And she rolled out a new product, and she's like, for you, I'm gonna give you a discount. And I was like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt good to say, no, I don't want the discount. I'll pay the full price, because that's what someone had just done for me,
Right.
not even a week prior. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of reprogramming myself also, and I'm seeing a lot of support.
I am really happy to hear that people are supporting you in that way. Um, because I do know that, sometimes it is very prevalent where there is this expectation that just because you're a friend or just because you're family,
Hmm.
that you should,
Hmm.
receive a discount. So I'm really happy that you have not had that type of experience and that everyone has been willing to fully support you, in that way and are willing to, you know, not
Plus,
try
our
to,
prices, I should say, our prices are very good. So
yeah.
why would you want a discount even?
Do you have any and that's one thing that we didn't bring up. Where can people go to purchase? So like even the shirt that you have on, I know was
Oh,
designed by
yes.
you. Where can people go to order the hoodies, sweatshirts, or anything, any of your unboxed tees products?
So for shirts, custom products. Oh, and I do want to say one thing about the custom products
Mhm.
before we wrap up. You can go to unboxedshop.com. Unboxedshop.com. Our Facebook is Unboxed Tees. For Tablescape, you can visit adiascape.com, diascape.com.
Perfect.
And our Adiascape is on Instagram, Adia_scape.
Okay. So you're on Instagram and Facebook because Unboxed Tees is also on Instagram as
Is
well.
on both.
It's on
Hmm.
both. Okay.
Yeah, but it's Unbox Shop on Instagram.
Got it. Okay. Do you have any special products that are coming out, especially for Mother's Day that's coming up soon? Anything you want to give us
So
insights
I'm
to?
working on, yeah. So with regards to the apparel, I'm releasing new products pretty much every other week.
Okay.
So of course there's going to be some things geared towards Mother's Day. There's always things geared toward various holidays coming up. So we had a big rollout for Black History Month, Kwanzaa before that.
Mhm.
Father's Day will be coming up, and there'll be a rollout for that. With regards to the tablescape, I have some tablescape I wanted to show really
Yeah,
quickly so people can see.
absolutely.
This is one of our table runners. So this is actually an Ankara fabric. Yeah,
I
thank
really like
you.
that.
If you can see. And then the back is satin. This particular piece was made to be displayed at Sweet Food. So it's a smaller tablescape, but like I said, I do custom, and then there's also some products that are available for purchase as is online. That's one. And then I wanted to show another. This was one of the original pieces that was done. And this one is more, so the last one was more for maybe a special occasion or a dinner party. Easter is another occasion that could be used for. This one is more of something that can be used in home. Just like everyday tablescape, if you're like me and you like for your table to be dressed at all times. It has beading. I don't know if you can see the beading. And then it's got crushed satin on the back. So I really thought this crushed satin was really pretty and unique. And then of course the front is the Ankara fabric from West Africa.
Now, do the runners come in certain dimensions? Because like I'm thinking about my dining room table, which I don't dress it up. I probably should, but
I'm surprised. You have a really nice dining set. We gotta get you some escape.
you got to work with me. Yes, you got to work with me because right now all I have is a vase on the table. So I definitely need to do something. But in terms of the dimensions, are there certain dimensions, or that would be for a custom order? Then the customer needs to provide the dimensions, the length of the table to make sure that it's the right length.
Yeah, so I don't have a super standard size, but typically table runners would range in width from like 14 inches to 16, 17 inches, and the length up to about 70 inches. A longer one could be 84 inches. One thing about my products though is that everything is made to order. So even if you go on the website and you select something, I'm flexible enough that it can be altered. The price may change slightly, but it's definitely feasible to adapt to your table needs.
Okay, that's good to know. I can't wait till you also add the accessories. Like now I'm thinking about the napkin holders, the
No, I
napkins.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I have realized, and it kind of just hit me, is entrepreneurship is a lot of work. I started my nonprofit organization in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in my 20s. Things are different in your 20s. Like you got a different type of energy in your 20s. I was literally pulling 24, 48 hours with no sleep, just be off of passion alone. And I'm working a lot more now, but just everything it takes to start a business. You got to get your incorporation, your FEIN, and
Mm-hmm.
all types of things, your accounting system set up. And then you also have to create products,
Right.
and you have to be everything, when you're first starting out. So with I say all that to say I have a lot of things that I'm working on. A lot of things are in my heart and in my heart, and in my head,
Mm-hmm.
that are just taking some time to roll out. And I'm hoping that the accessories are out by mid-spring.
Okay.
Another thing I did want to touch on, I know we don't have a lot of time, but as it relates to the custom apparel,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that prompted me to take more control over the apparel, because when I initially started the t-shirt business, again, it was kind of like a quick passion project that
Mm-hmm.
grew. I was using a drop ship company. I liked it because it was minimal risk for me and minimal financial investment that I had to take part in. However, I didn't have a lot of control.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't being notified of who was buying from me. So I couldn't create loyalty programs. I couldn't market to my customers. The only way I knew someone had bought from me is if they told me. So I didn't like that. I wanted a more personal touch. So I then went on to invest in equipment, invest in inventory, and actually learn how to make the shirts and best practices. So one thing that I'm rolling out, and this will be rolling out within the next month, is drop shipping services for other apparel, t-shirt, hoodies and sweatshirt entrepreneurs, like how I started out, where I wasn't manufacturing or producing my own shirts. So that's something to definitely look forward to. Have three businesses already that were like right there, ready to begin the drop shipping process. And then it'll be available on the website for people to sign up.
Awesome. That is good to know because Lighted Up Podcast and Women Who Persevere needs to have an apparel line.
Yes,
Mhm.
ma'am. So yeah, basically what it would mean if you were to work with Unbox is that you can process and sell to people directly through your website. And then we would fulfill the orders. We send it directly to you and you ship it out, or we can send it directly to your customer. So
Sounds like
hopefully we'll get that
I was going
started
to say, sounds like
soon.
we need to have some conversations offline. So you guys have heard it here first on Lighted Up Podcast. um, One final question that I want to ask you before we wind down, because there's actually something else that you and I are going to be working on that folks can be on the lookout for in a few months or a month or so. But I want to ask you this. You are, what are you, 40, 41? I don't know. How old are you?
Oh my goodness.
I
Wait,
have
I didn't,
to ask
did
because
I ask a woman?
look, I'm the oldest
I'm
here.
40-ish.
Whatever. So
40-ish.
I'm 43. So, okay, let me do the math. Yeah, you're like 41. Okay.
40-ish.
Anyway, dear
Oh,
cousin,
I'm glad you're family. I'm glad you're family.
what would you tell your younger self? Is there any advice or anything that you would tell your younger self that they should either do differently, or what advice, I guess, would you give your younger self? So, looking at where you are
Is
now,
that related to business?
related to business, related to parenting, anything in general, what advice would you give your younger self after your 40-ish years of being present and living?
I have lots of advice, but I think the number one thing that first came to my mind was to just do it. I think of several, I've always had the entrepreneurial mind, but I can think of several projects that I had a desire to start, and I was reluctant, or I was talked out of it by someone who didn't have the experience, or who was well intentioned, but they talked me out of it nonetheless. And now I look back like, man, I could have been here by now, or I could have, accomplished this by now if I would have just taken that chance and done it. So that's why people always tell me, you're so creative, so courageous. Like, I can't believe you started this, and I'm like, how many times did I not start it, when I wanted to? Or how many times did I talk myself out of doing something that I could have done that I was passionate about? So that's probably like the biggest piece of advice that I would give is to take a chance.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think that's great advice and a great way to end this segment. I want to tell everybody to make sure that you tune in for some upcoming things that Kashanna and I are going to do together. So be on the lookout for that. Also, make sure that you follow Unbox Teas, but it's Unbox Shop on Instagram, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
Unbox Teas on
Tease on Facebook.
Facebook, and on Instagram, a de-escape. So make sure, get your decor in order for those dinner parties that you're gonna be hosting very soon. You can still host something with a small, intimate group of people, even though we're not out
That's
of the
right.
woods yet. So make sure you get all of that in order just in time for the upcoming holidays, for Mother's Day, or just when you want to have a
Do
nice
it for yourself.
dinner. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So check out a de-escape on Instagram, and then online it is adiascape.com, right? And then,
Yes, ma'am.
all right. So thank you very much for joining me, Kashanna. I really appreciate you coming in and just giving us an update on what you've been doing for the last year. And I think this marks our anniversary. Like I said, you were my very first guest on season 1 of Light It Up podcast. So, of course, I had to have you back. So, thank you so much for spending time with me today. And for those of you in the listening and viewing audience, make sure you share this episode with a friend. Make sure you share um, the social media and website for Unbox Shop and a de-escape. Support a Black business, a Black woman-owned business. Okay. And look forward to you joining me again next week for another episode of Light It Up. Of course, I will try to have a very interesting guest for you when we come back next week. So, in the meantime, make sure that you continue to light it up and shine bright like a diamond. Thanks for joining me this week on Light It Up. Make sure you visit my website at www.lightituppodcast.com or www.aginahmuhammad.com. You can also find me on social media using the handle @LightItUpPodcasts. If you like what you've heard, please be sure to hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, I'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or you can simply tell a friend about the show. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday for a new episode. Until next time, light it up and shine bright like a diamond.